It all started on a quiet October evening. I was scrolling through Snap Map, bored out of my mind, when I noticed something unusual. A friend, David, who lived a few blocks away, had his Bitmoji placed at home. Nothing odd about that, except the Bitmoji was slowly shifting. At first, I thought it was a glitch. But then, every couple of minutes, his location moved a little closer to my house. I texted him, "Hey, you heading over?" No response. I figured he was walking and didn't see the message. But something didn't sit right. He never left his house. His Bitmoji just drifted. Curiosity got the better of me. I zoomed in. The route it took didn't make sense, zigzagging through backyards and alleys, not the main streets. I sent another message, "You good? What's going on?" No reply. By 11 p.m., the icon was one street away. I opened my front door and stepped outside, half expecting to see him walking up the sidewalk. Nothing. No sound of footsteps. Just the chilling autumn wind and the soft rustle of leaves. I checked Snap Map again. His Bitmoji was now directly in front of my house. My heart raced. I looked up and down the street. Nothing. I texted him again, "I swear if this is a prank, it's not funny." This time, I heard it, a faint tapping sound coming from the side of my house. My throat tightened as I crept toward the window. Peeking through the blinds, I saw a shadow dart past. Snap Map updated. David's Bitmoji was now inside my house. My stomach dropped. I bolted to lock the back door and grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a kitchen knife. I called him, my hands trembling. It rang once before going to voicemail. Then I heard it. A low, muffled laugh coming from upstairs. I froze. I live alone. Gathering all the courage I could muster, I crept toward the stairs, knife in hand. Every creak of the wood made my heart pound harder. I reached the top and saw my bedroom door slightly ajar. I pushed it open. The room was empty. But my phone buzzed. A snap from David. I opened it. The picture was of me, standing in the doorway, taken from behind. The caption read, "Turn around." I whipped around, knife raised, but there was no one there. Just an open window, the curtains billowing in the cold night air. I thought that was the end of it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my locked living room, clutching the knife, replaying every moment in my head. The next morning, I went to David's house. His car was parked in the driveway, and his lights were still on. I knocked, but there was no answer. Finally, I tried the door, it was unlocked. Inside, the air was stale. The TV was on, playing static, and his phone was sitting on the coffee table. The weird part? It was dead, and it looked like it had been for days. I called out for him, but the house was eerily silent. I called the police. They searched the place but found nothing, no sign of struggle, no sign of David. He was just gone. Days turned into weeks, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. One night, I got another Snap notification. My heart stopped. It was from David. The photo was a view of my backyard. The caption read, "Still watching." I ran to the window and yanked the curtains open. There was no one there, just the empty yard bathed in moonlight. But when I turned back to my phone, the Snap Map updated. David's Bitmoji was back. Not at his house. Not wandering the streets. It was inside mine. It was a snowy February night, and I was in my apartment alone, catching up on some work. The street outside was blanketed in fresh snow, the kind that muffles every sound. Around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a Snap notification, but it was from someone I didn't know, unknown_user45. I ignored it, thinking it was probably some random ad request or spam. But minutes later, another notification popped up, a Snap from the same username. Curiosity got the best of me. I opened it. It was a blurry picture of a street corner. At first, I couldn't make sense of it, But then I noticed something familiar, the corner store at the end of my block. The caption said, "Almost there." My chest tightened. I stared at the screen, trying to convince myself it was just a coincidence. Maybe someone was just playing a prank. But I hadn't shared my location with anyone on Snapchat. I wasn't even active on Snap Maps. I locked my phone, brushed it off, and went back to work. But 15 minutes later, another notification buzzed. This time, the snap was a picture of my building. The caption read, "Here." I froze. A chill ran down my spine as I grabbed my phone, locking my doors and windows. My apartment was on the 3rd floor of a small, quiet complex. Hardly anyone came by unless they lived here. My hands were shaking as I sent a message to the username. "Who is this? What do you want?" No reply. Just a notification, unknown_user 45 is typing. Then the typing stopped. I started pacing, clutching my phone, unsure of what to do. My rational brain told me it was someone messing with me, but something felt too real, too deliberate. I opened Snap Map to see if I could pinpoint their location, but the username wasn't visible. They were in ghost mode. The next snap came 20 minutes later. My phone buzzed so loudly that I jumped. The image made my blood run cold. It was me, sitting at my desk, taken from outside my window. I live on the 3rd floor. I couldn't breathe. I spun around, staring at the window. The curtains were drawn, but the thought of someone out there, watching, made my skin crawl. My fingers flew as I dialed 911. The operator kept me on the line, instructing me to stay in a locked room. I grabbed a kitchen knife and ran to my bathroom, locking the door and waiting for the police. While on the call, another snap came through. Against every instinct, I opened it. It was a pitch-black photo with one word. "Found you." I started crying, trying to stay calm, telling the operator everything. Minutes felt like hours until I heard the knock on my apartment door. The police had arrived. They searched the premises but found nothing, no footprints in the snow, no signs of anyone climbing to the 3rd floor. The officer assured me that I was safe, but the look in his eyes told me he didn't believe his own words. That night, I deleted Snapchat. I changed my locks. I installed cameras. But even now, 2 years later, I can't shake the feeling that someone's still watching. Every so often, I'll catch a shadow moving outside my window or hear a faint knock at night. I'll never forget the username, unknown_user 45. Sometimes, I still wonder who, or what, they were. But I'll never open another snap to find out. I had recently moved into a small apartment in Chicago and was still settling in. One quiet evening in December, I opened Snapchat to pass the time, zooming in on Snap Map out of boredom. As I scrolled through, I noticed a random Bitmoji sitting at the park near my building. It wasn't unusual, Snap Map always showed people nearby. But what caught my attention was the movement. The Bitmoji walked from one end of the park to the other in real time, stopping at random spots. I thought it was strange. The park was practically deserted at night, and the Bitmoji seemed oddly deliberate in its movements. It wasn't on a clear path, it zigzagged, pausing every few steps. Curious, I zoomed in closer to see if I recognized the username. The name was blank. No display name, no profile picture, just a floating Bitmoji with no identity attached. I laughed it off at first, assuming it was some weird Snap Map glitch. But something about it didn't sit right. For a reason I couldn't explain, I decided to check the park from my window. The park was dark, empty except for the faint outline of trees and benches. I scanned the area but saw no one. Still, the Bitmoji on the screen kept moving, now heading toward the far side of the park. A chill ran down my spine as I realized where it was going, toward my building. I told myself it was impossible. Snap Map was just an app, it wasn't supposed to track real-time movement like this. But as I watched, the Bitmoji reached the edge of the park and stopped. I looked back out the window, scanning the sidewalk below. There was no one there. But when I glanced at the screen again, the Bitmoji had moved. It was now inside the outline of my building. My heart was pounding. I stared at the screen in disbelief as the Bitmoji moved floor by floor, heading upward. It stopped at my floor, then paused directly over my apartment. I froze, unable to move, my breath caught in my throat. My phone buzzed, and I jumped. It was a text from my landlord. "Did you just buzz someone in? Someone's in the building, but the front door was supposed to be locked." I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and locked myself in the bathroom, my hands shaking. The Snap Map still showed the Bitmoji inside my apartment. The police arrived 15 minutes later after I called them, though it felt like hours. They found no one in the building, and the front door showed no signs of forced entry. Snapchat never explained the glitch. But every time I open Snap Map now, I can't help but look for that blank Bitmoji. And every time, I pray it doesn't find its way back.